pick up your pen, and I mean it. If you're still typing on a keyboard, you're already behind. Today, we audit the greatest scam of the 21st century, the Western Green Revolution. For 20 years, you've been told a fairy tale. Your politicians lectured you about carbon footprints while flying in private jets. Your banks sold you ESG funds that were just another layer of financial entropy. You were told that being green was a luxury, something you had to pay a premium for. You bought 100,000 EVs to feel like you were saving the planet, while the electricity charging them was still burning the same dirty coal. You weren't saving the planet. You were being farmed. You were the pixels in a giant marketing simulation. But while you were busy virtue signaling, the Eastern algorithm was performing a silent, brutal audit on the atoms of energy. Enter BYD. In the West, you see BYD and you think cheap Chinese cars. That is your first mistake. And in the game of survival, your first mistake is usually your last. BYD is not a car company. It is a vertical integration monster. It is the physical manifestation of energy sovereignty. While Elon Musk was busy capturing the mind share of the internet, BYD was busy capturing the periodic table. I am here to drop the hard truth. The West didn't just lose the EV race. You lost the ability to power your own future. Sit down. Class is officially in session. In your business schools, they taught you a poison called lean outsourcing. They told you that owning the factory was old economy. They said, focus on the brand, outsource the grit. You believed that as long as you owned the software and the logo, you controlled the product. The Eastern algorithm calls that strategic suicide. Look at BYD. They don't just assemble cars, they create the reality of the car. When the global chip shortage paralyzed Detroit and Stuttgart, BYD kept rolling. Why? Because they design and manufacture their own IGBT chips. When lithium prices went insane, BYD didn't panic. Why? Because they own the mines. In the West, you have a supply chain, a fragile, fragmented web of contractors who all want their 15% margin. In the East, BYD is the supply chain. This is the vertical integration massacre. When you have to pay 5 different middlemen to get a battery to your factory, and BYD simply moves it from floor 2 to floor 4, you have already lost. Your innovation is trapped in spreadsheets and board meetings. Our innovation is hard-coded into the atoms. You think you can sanction this? How do you sanction a company that owns the mine, the refinery, the factory, and the ship? You aren't cutting off their oxygen. You're just sealing yourself inside a vacuum of your own making. Let's talk about safety, or as you call it in the West, liability. For years, your high-end EVs have been running on NCM, nickel, cobalt, manganese batteries. They are energy-dense, expensive, and, if punctured, they turn into a chemical blowtorch that can't be extinguished. You accepted this risk because you wanted performance. You traded stability for pixels on a spec sheet. BYD took the opposite path. They bet the entire company on LFP, lithium iron phosphate. Your experts laughed. They said LFP was old tech, low energy, for poor people. Then came the Blade battery audit. When BYD revealed the Blade battery, it wasn't just a tech launch. It was a systemic hardening. They rearranged the cells into structural beams. They removed the volatility. They made a battery that you can drill through, crush with a truck, and overheat. And it stays cold. Suddenly, your premium German brands realized their advanced batteries were liabilities. Now they are standing in line, hats in hand, begging to buy BYD's old tech. This is the Eastern algorithm in action. We don't chase the flashiest tech. We chase the most functional tech. We prioritize the kernel over the UI. While you were building glass Ferraris, we were building indestructible tanks. And in a war of attrition, the tank always wins. Let's address the lie you tell yourselves to sleep at night. The unfair subsidy myth. Every time a BYD ship hits your ports, your media screams that we are cheating. You've been programmed to believe the East only wins because of state-funded life support. Let's perform a reality audit. If subsidies were a cheat code for industrial godhood, why is your own backyard a cemetery of failed startups? Did you forget the $80 billion bailout Detroit received in 2008? Did you forget the trillions in green credits you've pumped into your companies, only to produce overpriced toys for the 1%? Subsidies are medicine, but efficiency is life. The truth is even more humiliating for you. Your tariffs are not a strategy. They are a white flag. You impose 100% taxes on our cars because you are terrified of the market's verdict. If our products were truly inferior or subsidized junk, you wouldn't need a wall to keep them out. You don't build a fortress against a weakling. You build it because a predator is at your gate. Without your protectionist iron curtain, the BYD Seagull would have liquidated your domestic auto industry in 6 months. Your governments are literally taxing your own citizens to subsidize the incompetence of your CEOs. You are forcing your people to stay in the 20th century because you're too cowardly to let the Eastern algorithm show you what the 21st century actually looks like. A system that needs a cage to survive is a system that has already failed. You call it anti-competitive. I call it evolution. In the West, you love the pivot. You love lean management. You outsource the dirty work to the East so you can focus on design and marketing. You thought you were the masters because you owned the pixels, the brand, while we were the servants because we owned the atoms, the factory. The Eastern algorithm just flipped the script. BYD doesn't wait for a supplier in Germany or a chip maker in Taiwan. They are the supplier. They own the lithium mines in Africa and South America. They bake the blade battery in-house. They forge their own semiconductors. They even built their own sovereign fleet of massive cargo ships to bypass your logistics monopolies. While your companies are one geopolitical crisis away from total paralysis, BYD is a self-contained industrial civilization. You aren't just losing on price, you are losing on resilience. You've spent 40 years deindustrializing your soul, and now you're shocked that the people who actually build things also happen to own the future. In the game of survival, the producer always overwrites the consumer. Always. So here is the final verdict of this audit. Sit down and take this last note. The Green Revolution was never about saving the planet for the West. It was a marketing campaign to maintain your permission-based innovation. You wanted a world where you decide who gets to be green and at what price. But you forgot one thing, the laws of entropy, the era of fire, of oil and internal combustion, is being overwritten by the era of the electron. And BYD is the high priest of this new religion. They aren't just selling you a car, they are selling you the ability to capture, store, and deploy the very lifeblood of a modern civilization. When your grid fails, and it will, because it's built on 50-year-old legacy code, our batteries will be the ones keeping the lights on. When your currency devalues because you produce nothing but content and financial derivatives, our physical assets will be the only true measure of wealth. I told you at the start, I'm here to drop value into your pockets. The value is this: wake up, stop worshipping your heritage brands, and start auditing your functional power. History doesn't care about your fair trade slogans. It only cares about efficiency. The East has mastered the algorithm of the atom. You are still trying to patch a broken pixel. The audit of BYD is complete. The verdict, absolute energy sovereignty. This is Eastern algorithm. Like this video to acknowledge the reality. Share it to disrupt the illusions of the legacy elite. And subscribe to join the only community that decodes the atoms of the future. Next time we look at the eyes of the sky. You think you have air superiority? We'll show you who owns the drone. Stay functional. The next audit is coming.